That second day after, third day after, they start to get that soreness that really sets in. I think everybody can kind of experience that, has experienced that, can sympathize with that.
Welcome to the What Up Doc University podcast, your number one resource for total body wellness. Here's your host, Dr. Mike.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Mike from What Up Doc University podcast, coming back with another great episode. And today we have a special guest from a company that I recently ran into actually last year, in 2015. And this was a technology that I was looking into, and I scouted a bunch of different companies and decided on this one company called Recovery Pump. And today we have a representative from Recovery Pump, is Sean Kupiec. And Sean's going to basically tell us how this technology can benefit you. So, hey Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. So tell us a little bit about this whole Recovery Pump. Tell us what that is.
Okay. So Recovery Pump is a company. We are based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And the brand Recovery Pump is fairly new. This is our third year in the market, but we do have a parent company on the medical side. And so they have been in the medical industry for over 30 years. So from the standpoint of we're new, but we're not so new. We've been around for quite a long time in the medical community, and now we are branching out more into the athletics side, and that is the Recovery Pump brand.
Okay, so give our listeners a little bit of an explanation of what is the recovery pump, because I know a lot of them actually haven't seen it or haven't tried it yet.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So the recovery pump is essentially it's a compressor, and we have different garments that you can attach to it. And so what people are most familiar with would be the boot attachment. So people have seen these recovery boots. So what the recovery pump is, it's a pneumatic compression machine. So it pumps air into these garments, and what it essentially does is it is a milking massage type program movement where the garments will fill up with air and they will go distal to proximal. So that means further away from the core towards the core. And so if you had the boot on, for example, it would fill up at your toes first and it would work its way all the way up to your thigh, and essentially wring you out. So the name Recovery Pump is kind of exactly that. What the goal of it is to do is to help improve venous return and lymphatic drainage, so that no matter what level athlete you are, I mean, if you move, you're athletic, you're subject to tissue damage, to injury, to fatigue, all these things. What the goal is to use that venous return and lymphatic drainage to help make you feel better, not only immediately, but help prepare you for what you're going to be doing after the next time you go out there.
So is that a real big issue with athletes or anybody in general, is to have this lymphatic stasis in their extremities? Is that a real big issue with people?
Well, so like I said, from the medical side, it does become a real issue if there's some underlying conditions, and so. But absolutely, from the normal healthy, air quotation marks, normal healthy individual, I feel like everyone can relate to the feeling of either heavy legs or what is known as delayed onset muscle soreness. So if someone goes and maybe they haven't been as good as they want to be or as good as they can be from the standpoint of being diligent and exercising regularly, and so they go out one time and then not necessarily that day, and maybe not even the next day, but that second day after, third day after, they start to get that soreness that really sets in. I think everybody can kind of experience that, has experienced that, can sympathize with that. And so, absolutely, everybody, can benefit from this, and they are subject to feel that, to experience that.
Yeah. Cause we see, I see a lot of people who they're the weekend warriors, right?
Yes.
Or the ones that are, New Year's resolutions or coming into summer and everybody wants to jump on the next, whatever fitness program there is, right? And then they jump on it. And one of the reasons why it's people get discouraged in those programs is because they hurt, right? So they jump on these programs and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore because I hurt. So this is where you say that the recovery pump would really help with that quote unquote recovery, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
What are you guys seeing as far as like some of the benefits? And tell us about has there been any studies conducted on this kind of technology?
Absolutely. So from the standpoint of intermittent compression has been studied fairly. I would say there's been several studies with that. Obviously, evidence-based research, peer-reviewed research is a huge deal. Myself being a background of an athletic trainer, it's very, very important. We do have some studies with our specific technology. We know that the intermittent compression does those two things from the standpoint of improving venous return and lymphatic drainage. And so building upon that, we are seeking to increase our presence on the research, and we do have another study coming back out, but mainly what we're seeing is reduced soreness and if not improved performance, less significant drop off of performance on subsequent exercise bouts. And so when I say that, I mean in a lab setting of someone doing a vertical jump or doing a treadmill task to fatigue their shin musculature or their lower leg musculature, and then maybe even doing some isometric holds with some weights, then undergoing an intervention or a treatment with these garments, and then performing those tasks again. We're seeing the benefits from the heart rate and blood pressure stabilizing more to resting levels quicker. And like I said, if not increased performance, at least not significant drop off as compared to individuals that are just doing a regular passive exercise or passive recovery versus one of these interventions. And so we kind of also say, even though you're being passive while you're using this, because you're either sitting or laying down, however you're positioned, it is more similar to an active recovery. So people think of maybe a light jog or a bike ride as an active recovery. Yeah. This simulates more of an active recovery than it does a passive. And one of the main reasons for that is because you have a pump on one end, pumping the blood out through your arterial system. Yeah. And there's no pump at the other end to get everything back. And so what your body does is it relies on movement and contraction of skeletal muscle. So, and one of the biggest pumps of that and the drivers of that is down in the foot, ankle, lower leg, and that gastroc soleus complex. And so we find that if we can, if we get this, what we have is a true gradient sequential compression. And so what that means is when that foot chamber fills up, that foot chamber is going to stay held until the entire boot is inflated. So it's going to fill up gradually from your toes to your thigh again, and it's going to wring you all the way out, and then it's going to all release. You're going to feel that blood, oxygen-rich blood, go back to that tissue, and then the cycle starts again. So it's much more of a milking massage, like I said, and it helps with that pumping, whereas you are sitting down or laying down while you're having it. So again, mimicking the active recovery while being passive.
So how does this compare to somebody just getting like a massage, like just like
R-
a deep tissue
well,
massage? How does it
well,
compare?
absolutely. And so that is a great question. A lot of people cannot afford a massage.
True.
On a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
And depending on how deep, some people experience some actual tissue damage from those massages as well.
Sure.
Depending on how much, if there's scar tissues, adhesions, things that need to be broken up, if there's an underlying injury to begin with. And so from the practicality standpoint, a massage just isn't really feasible for the general population every day. And so, what this does is it's doing exactly that. Like it is mimicking that massage and that ability to compress, but it is probably doing it in a more time efficient manner. Absolutely, because again, you're wearing a whole boot. The cycle takes, and I'm using the boot as an example, but the cycle rate on the boot, if you have the pressure maxed out on the machine, which is 100 millimeters of mercury, it's just over a minute for a flush.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to talk about like from the efficiency standpoint, and I would say cost standpoint as well.
Yeah.
Comparing it to just a massage, it would there are some of those comparisons right there, but absolutely. There are things that you obviously want to, be careful with any type of treatment. So like I said, for instance, with that massage and deep tissue, like you don't necessarily want to be getting that every day, due to some of those issues as well.
Yeah.
So, but there are also some other pneumatic compression therapies out there.
Yes.
And the way we feel we compare to those, I like to highlight that in three different key points. And those would be portability, therapy, and price. So from the portability aspect, we offer 2 units. They basically have the exact same casing. So they look very similar. Our base model, RP, it has to be plugged in, and it has 2 knobs on the front. And what you do is with those knobs, you set it for the time you want and you set it for the pressure you want. And then you press the play button and then you go. So very, very simple, very straightforward. That unit is about 3.5 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that only does our recovery setting, which is the distal to proximal milking massage.
Okay.
Our higher end unit, known as the RPX, it's a little heavier. It's just over 4 pounds. Again, same shape, same casing. It's got a digital screen instead of 2 knobs. And the reason why it's heavier right off the bat is because it has a built-in battery pack. So for those who are on the go and traveling, maybe being in a hotel room, maybe being in a 15-passenger van and wanting to do it and stuff like that, it offers that flexibility to be very portable. So again, light units, both under 4.5 pounds, but the RPX really lets you be really, really portable.
Hey, one question on that one, on the portability side. How long does the charge last on the one that has
that has the battery pack? Great question. So I say this again, the manual says 2+ hours of use, and that's with the pressure up to 100 millimeters of mercury. So what we're finding is that individuals don't usually treat at 100, and they treat in a little bit lower pressure range. And so we're finding the usage time more to be between around 4 hours of actual treatment on the battery pack before the battery dies. A good thing, and I feel like I always forget to say this to people, but you can of course use this device plugged in as well. Right, and it would charge. So I don't want people to think that you can't use it plugged in. You can absolutely use it plugged in. It's just it offers the flexibility to use it while you're not plugged in.
Gotcha.
The manual also says that it takes 8 hours to charge. I can tell you from personal experience that it's less than 6, but I don't have the exact number on that. But just to if you're doing some planning and you're planning a trip, just certain things to consider when you're doing that.
Cool.
So that's the portability aspect. The therapy.
Yeah.
So this is the big deal. The reason why these devices exist. So the best way I like to describe to people what this is if you exercise and you think of your tissue as a washcloth, after you exercise, that washcloth becomes saturated.
Okay.
These devices wring them out. So that's I feel like everyone can relate to that analogy. And so what we're trying to do is, if we take the Los Angeles area, for example, and we're using this device, we're trying to evacuate Los Angeles, right? So Los Angeles, it's got a bunch of congestion in it, whatnot. We're trying to clear it out so we can get that oxygen-rich blood back in. We want to clear the roadways. So what we're doing is we're opening up all the lanes. We're opening up in the same direction. We're increasing circulation and we're driving it. So some people ask, well, what about using some cryotherapy component? Like, is this cold water, for example? And so I say, no, it's just air. But from the standpoint of increasing venous return and the lymphatic drainage, for a prolonged period of time, because I do understand and recognize the importance of cryotherapy in certain situations. But if we were to add a cryotherapy component to our device right off the bat from the standpoint of regular use, acute or recent injury, that would be in essence like us shutting some lanes down on the highway.
Yeah, exactly.
So we want to open everything up. We want to get it going. So from the therapy standpoint, the devices go from 20 to 100 millimeters of mercury. Okay. And our device is pressure sensitive versus time sensitive. So what that means is once that chamber attains the pressure you set it at, so say you set it at 50 millimeters of mercury, once it hits 50 millimeters of mercury, it will hold there and then begin to fill the next chamber in line.
Oh, so this is like dependent upon the circumference of a person's leg.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mass inside, the size of the garment. So boots are the only thing we make different sizes of. But if you're a relatively petite person, well, it's going to have to fill up till it contacts you and then achieves that 50 millimeters of mercury. So what it does is once it hits that pressure, though, it doesn't need to wait. Once it senses that, then it's good. Then it moves on. So when I say that if you have it up to 100 millimeters of mercury, it basically caps out at about a minute for the cycle, versus others that take up to 5 minutes if you have it up to the same intensity. From the volume of flushes that you're getting, it's more of like a 1-to-1 ratio of cycles per minute you're into it versus like a 3 to 4. So that's pretty big. Our boot design, we have a 3-seam boot. What that means, it may not sound like it makes a big difference, but what it allows us to do is it allows us to put a chamber on the plantar aspect of the foot, so underneath your foot, so we can really start driving that venous return lymphatic drainage very, very distally down by your toes. Other boots that are 2 seams, if you think about it, there's the zipper on the top, and then there's the seam along the bottom that runs along the back. So the bladders, or the air chambers, can only fill on the outsides of your foot, so medially and laterally.
Right.
Some people, and I'm not saying all, but some people can experience some discomfort with that because they feel this compression across their metatarsals. And I don't know if anybody that maybe you treat or that is listening has experienced a 5th metatarsal injury, but
I have.
Okay, so perfect example is any type of athlete that I ever had in a 2-seam boot that had a 5th metatarsal injury. Very, very sensitive to it because, again, you're getting that compression right there. So the 3-seam boot, much more comfortable and effective.
That's why when I tried the recovery pump boots, it felt better for me.
Absolutely.
Versus the other boots that I tried. And yeah. Oh, okay. I never knew that part.
So I can completely understand that right from there, that aspect.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So next is that true gradient sequential compression that I'm talking about. So it's going to literally hold pressure distally. So if we're using the boots again, it's at the toe, and it will wring you out all the way up to your hip. It will hold for a few seconds, and then it will all release together down to about 10 millimeters of mercury. So it allows that oxygen-rich blood to get back to the tissue. So that's our pause time. So having an adequate pause time is key because, again, we're trying to flush this out, but we want good stuff coming back down in to take its place. So we've got to allow for that. So other products, they can only have a certain number of the cells active at a time. And so our boots, for example, are 4 chambers. So we can have all of those active and then they all release at once. The other ones, as it moves up more towards the thigh, it shuts off down by the foot. Well, we don't want that because we don't want that back foot. We don't want anything staying back. We want to maintain
that pressure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And so that can be a key. And then plus by doing that cycling, it also doesn't allow for an adequate amount of pause time. So from the actual reason, like I said, that these exist, we're trying to promote venous return lymphatic drainage. We're trying to clear you out and replenish you with better oxygen-rich blood. This does that more effectively. So that is the key. And then the last one, like I say, is price, and cost is king, right? Like everybody, there is a bottom line for everybody. And,
sure.
And I understand that there are people of different means. And what we try to do is we try to make this as affordable as possible and easy for people to obtain. And by that, I mean, not only from the price point, but we do offer financing programs. And people are allowed to use their, flex spending account, their health savings accounts. If they are unfortunate enough to have some type of surgical procedure, we do have a prescription that if the physician deems it necessary or thinks that it could help, we can go that route as well. Typically, we market to professional sports, collegiate sports type like that. But absolutely, there are individual users that purchase these all the time, every day. And again, everybody's an athlete. If you move, you're an athlete. Like you do stuff, you get sore, you engage in these activities. So I don't want you to think that it's just the Steph Currys of the world or these types of athletes that are the only ones that can benefit from it. Absolutely everyone can. And so the units that we have, we have the RP and the RPX. The retail price on the RP, and this includes your choice of boots, is $1,195, so almost $1,200, which again, that is real money, and we understand that. And so that tends to be more of the individual, and you brought up weekend warrior type thing. That tends to be the one for the weekend warrior that, hey, listen, I don't necessarily need it on the go, but as part of my daily routine, I've got this little spot at home. I like to kind of just relax when I get back, and they run through their routine. The RPX, the higher end unit, which does have some more bells and whistles, it allows you to adjust that hold time. It allows you to adjust the pause time. So people tend to like the hold a little bit longer, and then that break cycle they tend to turn down so they can increase the volume of flushes. So that's typically what we see. But it also allows you to do things like it has an isolation mode. So the other unit, the RP, only does distal to proximal milking massage, and you can't really change anything else. The RPX allows you, like I said, the boots are 4 chambers. So if you have, say you twisted your ankle and you've got an ankle sprain and you want to focus specifically on your ankle, well, you can isolate the 2 chambers of the foot and lower leg, and it will just cycle through those 2. If you want more of a treatment there, say you've got some swelling or effusion there, these are lymphedema pumps, so they will assist with that swelling. They will help to reduce and reabsorb some of that swelling. So that's a functionality that from the specificity of location that unit offers. It also offers the ability to do custom programs. And what that's nice for is if you find that you're using settings similar in nature each time, rather than you kind of adjusting everything on the machine every time you turn it on, you can set that and save it, and you have to do less button pushing, I guess is the best way to describe it. But it saves you time and hassle. You're like, hey, listen, I like being at this pressure for this time. I like this pause time, this hold time. You can save that as kind of your own little channel on the unit, and then each time you turn it on, it's there for you. So a little bit more customization and personalization. And that unit it retails for $19.95, so just under $2,000.
And
Yep,
I have to say that for me personally, because whenever I introduce things into my practice or recommend them to others, I got to use it first. So I bought it. It was a Christmas present for myself and also for the practice. So I used it, and exactly what you said. My recovery times were much quicker, and the biggest thing, exactly what you were saying about the whole massage thing. I'm not going to have an on-demand massage therapist at 9 o'clock that's going to, come to my house and do some lymphatic drainage. But here I am, I put on the boots, for a half an hour, 45 minutes. And there I am just chilling out and getting that recovery time. And then the next day I feel great. And that was one of the surprising things for me, because, when I would go for like a 2-mile run or something like that, I would be down for like another day or so. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I felt like it almost felt like I didn't do any workout at all. And I love that. And we just started using it with, like you were saying, with the lymphedema. We had a bunch of lymphedema patients. And this one lady, her legs were just swollen beyond measure. Nothing was helping. And she was on all these different medications to help with the swelling. And she's been on it. Now we did I think she's on her 6th treatment. And her swelling's down significantly. Her doctors were just thrilled by what she was doing. And it's all to, what we were doing with the recovery pump.
Absolutely. That's great to hear.
Love that. Anything else that you'd like to share with us about a recovery pump?
From the standpoint of it, like I said, we do have athletes that use this. We are in the majority of professional sports teams and Division I colleges, etc. Currently, the 5 reigning champions in the 5 major sports in North America all use us. They're all clients of ours. Steph Curry is one of our athletes. Todd Gurley of the Rams is one of our athletes. Brandon Marshall, we didn't even have any type of relationship with him, and he does. There is a show, I believe it is on Showtime, called Inside the NFL, and
oh yeah, I saw that one.
And he was a guest on that show, and he was wearing the recovery pump
on the bed, right? Yeah.
Yep. And so it was just crazy to see this unsolicited type of testimonial. And he was asked if it could add years to his career, and he said it already has. We get these types of reactions and stuff. Like you're saying, like we hear this stuff a lot, and that's why people love it. And so it's one of those things that you almost have to try yourself. And again, I encourage everybody to do their homework and stuff like that, as far as the comparisons and what works for you. But like I said, I continue to come back to those 3 things of portability, therapy, and price. And when I say price, competitors go as much for their low end as $1,500, but their high ends are like $3,400.
Yeah.
And so that's a significant difference between that. And then when you start looking at the total picture, that's where we feel the real value kind of comes in. But really, like you're saying, you go for a 2-mile run, you feel like you're dead the next day. And what these things allow you to do as well is they allow you, while you're in it, you can be as productive as you want to be, from the standpoint of, hey, listen, is there something you can do via email? Athletes watching film and studying maybe their next opponent or a previous game or something. There are things you can do to still be productive in this time while you're doing that. So it turns what would relatively be an unproductive time, and you can make it productive. So if you're making that deal with yourself, and we know we all have, of, I would love to do that, I just don't have enough time left. Well, maybe you do have time to do both tasks, because you can multitask while being in these. You're not going to be up moving around, but from the standpoint, if there's something work to be done that involves you maybe doing some administrative stuff on a computer, or watching some film, like I said, you can do that, or you can obviously relax. But I think it's really, really important to get people to think about recovery as almost just as important as the work you put in before you do it. So it might be one thing that if you've got a rec league or an intramural soccer game at 6:30 at night, but if you can arrive and not just get out of your car and participate, and you can do some stuff beforehand to warm up, you're going to feel much better doing that activity, and you're going to be you're preparing your body to do the activity that you're asking it to do. The same goes on the back end. So don't just get in your car right after the whistle blows and then just sit down and just not do anything. The recovery aspect is it's essential to how you feel the next day, and how you feel the next time you go and do activity, and what you're actually able to do. And so just kind of trying to change the mindset of people into thinking, well, it's not just that you have to do a workout. It's okay, am I doing a little bit before to get myself ready for the workout? And then what am I doing after that workout? Everything from maybe something like this to soft tissue mobilization, to nutrition, to rest. What am I doing afterwards to get the most out of what I just did? And then I can go and do it again. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I try to encourage everybody to do. Obviously, we're doing these pumps, but it's more of understanding why you're doing it, why you're doing it. And so that's what I kind of say. One of the coaches I worked with, and I think this sums it up the best, one of the things he used to say all the time was, fail to prepare to fail. And
love that.
I think that those are words to live by pretty much in everything, but especially here, it's very, very appropriate.
Love that. I love that. So what we'll do, guys, is we'll have a link to where you guys can actually purchase your own recovery pump. We'll have it in the show notes. And basically what Sean is saying is that when you are in your recovery pump boots, you can be listening to the podcast, or checking or checking Facebook or Instagram or something like that. That's what I have. Patients in the office, they're in the boots, they're reading a book, or they're taking a picture of themselves, sending it to their friends and like say, hey, look, I look like an astronaut, and all of that stuff. So, hey, Sean, I thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge and sharing with all of us and the audience about the recovery pump technology. And we just want to thank you for that.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And if there's ever any questions and stuff like that, obviously they can get in touch with you. We are going to be launching a new website. We do have a website currently, but we're going to be launching a new website, and there's going to be some exciting stuff happening with Recovery Pump from a rebranding standpoint. So we are going to be getting into some additional recovery products coming up down the line here. And so it'll be exciting things to come for us as a company. And so obviously we are here to help. And so there'll be many avenues for people, if they have any type of questions or need any type of explanations. We want to make sure that they're able to get that information, because again, you want to make the informed decision. We want to make sure everybody has all the information before they make any type of decision.
Perfect. There we go, guys. Go to the show notes, pick up your recovery pump now.